So you've been searching the internet for the best lighting control system to use on your new house or refurbishment project? And Lutron RA2 Select seems to be the right solution? Well, there are only 3 pieces of information that you need to provide that will help you to get your Lutron RA2 Select system quoted and priced correctly. So, let's just dive into it. A Lutron RA2 Select lighting control system has to be designed around the lighting that you currently have in your existing home or that you intend to have if you are building a new house or an extension, for example. Therefore, it is very important for you as the client to provide the correct type of information as much as possible to your supplier so you can get an accurate quote and cost for your Lutron system. This will also allow your Lutron supplier to clarify and provide the best guidance on your RA2 Select project. The first piece of information that you need to provide is the total number of lighting circuits you want to control. Simply because you're gonna need one Lutron lighting module for each of those lighting circuits. So, what is a lighting circuit? If we take this room here, for example, I have 3 downlighters that are electrically wired together, so they can turn on, turn off, and dim together. This is one lighting circuit. So, the total number of lighting circuits is not the total number of light fittings or downlighters that you have in your house, but the total number of those group of lights that are wired together. To get to that total number of lighting circuits, you can walk around your house to count them, and you can also use your traditional switches on the wall to help you identifying them. If you are working on a new build or renovation project, it is best to get those lighting circuits clearly identified on the floor plan, like you can see on this one here, and email that plan to your Lutron supplier. At the end, the total number of lighting circuits you have will define how many Lutron lighting modules you need. Also note that as you work on your project, you may realize that actually you want to control a couple more circuits, or maybe less. Therefore, you might see the cost of your RA2 Select system being adjusted as the number of Lutron lighting module changes. So, here is your first step. Get the total number of lighting circuits you want to control. The second piece of information that you need to provide will be the type of lighting circuit used on your project. Simply because we need to use a specific type of Lutron lighting module that matches exactly the type of lighting circuit is going to control. This is very easy. There are only 3 types of lighting circuit that can be operated on a Lutron RA2 Select system. First, how many of your lighting circuits are not dimmable, which means they can only be turned on or off. For example, do you have cabinet lighting or outside light that are not dimmable? Now, how many of your lighting circuits are dimmable? And here we have 2 options. How many circuits are what we call mains dimmable, and how many are 0 to 10 volt dimmable? On a Lutron RA2 Select system, I'd like to say that the majority of the time your circuit will be mains dimmable. This is the traditional most common dimming method. But you may also have 0 to 10 volt, also called 1 to 10 volt lighting circuits, especially on projects where we require a ultra stable low level lighting performance. Sometimes we can find 0 to 10 volt on LED strips and also on LED pendants, just to name a few. If your lights are already fitted, your electrician may help you to find out if your lighting circuits are dimmable or not. And if you are working on a new build or renovation project, this information should be on your lighting floor plan. And you can also ask your light fitting supplier to confirm. So you see, this is very easy. To get the correct quote for your Lutron RA2 Select system, you need to let your Lutron supplier know how many lighting circuits will be non-dimmable, how many will be mains dimmable, and how many, if any, will be 0 to 10 volt dimmable. That's it. There is a couple of things to bear in mind, however. We can't make a circuit dimmable just by using a dimmer. The fitting itself needs to be dimmable as well. And as we just see, they both need to use the same dimming method. And also, the final dimming performance is not only based on the quality of the dimmer you use, but also on the quality of light fitting you'll be using, especially when it comes to dimming the light at a very low level. So you may want to pay attention to this detail as well. Anyway, here is your step number 2. Let your supplier know the load type for each of your lighting circuit. Now, let's move on to step number 3, control. On a RATU Select system, instead of using traditional switches on your wall to operate your light, you will now be using Lutron Pico wireless controls. Basically, these Picos are small remote controls that can fit inside a faceplate that can be fitted exactly where your old switches used to be or anywhere else in your house, as they require absolutely no wiring. Although you'll have access to a large choice of button configuration, those Picos can be grouped into 2 different types. The first type is what we call Pico remote controls. And essentially, I will use this type of Pico in a room where I will just have one single lighting circuit, or eventually a group of circuits that will always have to behave exactly in the same way. This one here is my favorite, as it allows the client to turn on, turn off, and dim up and down that single lighting circuit, and also to call on a favorite predefined level from that button here. That is very good. Then, in a room where I have multiple lighting circuits, I will use the second type of Pico that we call PicoSync keypads. Each button on a PicoSync keypad can be programmed with lighting circuits at different light levels, so you can use lighting scenes. For example, in your kitchen, you can have a specific cooking or dining scene, and in your lounge, you can have a relax or movie scene, just to name a few. The bottom line is that each room will have to have at least one or the other type of Pico on your wall in order to operate your lights. But since those can be fitted anywhere, it is not unusual to add Picos in other locations only to provide additional convenience. You see, today, you may have a light switch by the door of your bedroom, which will be replaced by a Pico. But now, you could also think of having an additional Pico on your bedside so you don't have to get out of bed to operate your light. In the same way, you could think of having additional Picos in corridors and staircase, for example, or by the hob in the kitchen so you can adjust the light when needed while cooking, or by your French or patio doors so you can control your garden lights from various locations. Also, there are Picos that you really don't have to have on your walls to operate your lights, but they are of great values for the overall control of your house, like my favorite one here, which is called the Pico Entry, from where I can program the away button here to switch off all the lights when the client goes out, and program a welcome scene on that top button here to turn the lights on in the halls, corridors, as well as in the kitchen and living area, for example, for when the clients come back in, which is very cool. Also, Picos are available in black and white, and faceplates are available in various colors and finishes. So, let your Lutron supplier knows where you want to operate your lights from. And if you can put this information on a floor plan, even better. But also, feel free to let them know if you need their help to establish this. At the end, it will allow everyone involved to understand and agree on the type and total number of Picos that will be needed on your Lutron project. So here is your step number 3. Get the total number of Picos and faceplate needed on your project. And here is your bonus point, services. When you compare various quotations for your Lutron RATU Select system, one great thing that can also help you is to try to understand what type of services your Lutron supplier is offering. Like, what sort of design services are they providing? For example, to which extent are they going to help you to get the right quantities of Lutron equipment needed on your project? Can you send them a lighting floor plan? Are they going to come to site to do a survey? How are they going to work with you so they can design a Lutron RA2Select system that matches exactly your needs and requirements? These are good questions to ask. With regards of the installation, what sort of information will they provide to facilitate it? Will they provide drawings? Can they liaise and coordinate with your electrician? Or can your Lutron supplier also provide electrical installation services? These are also good points to check. The great thing with Lutron RA2Select is that it can be programmed by the client, the electrician, or anyone else using the Lutron RA2Select app. However, would your supplier also provide any commissioning and programming services? So you don't have to deal with the initial programming phase and you can just walk into a fully operating Lutron RA2Select system. This is also interesting to find out. Look, at the end of the day, design, installation, and programming are essential steps that someone will have to do. So it is good to know what sort of support will you get from your Lutron supplier. And hopefully, this will help you to make your final choice. Voila, there you have it. How many lighting circuits, what type of circuits, and how many picos. But also, what sort of services your Lutron supplier can provide to make sure you get the correct type of equipment the first time around and make sure the installation and programming phases are as smooth as possible. These are the pieces of information you need to get your Lutron RA2Select project quoted and priced correctly. I hope you found this tutorial useful. And if you have any other question on Lutron RA2Select, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so you can be updated when the next video is released. Thank you very much. Good luck and talk to you again on the next tutorial.